What's up, guys? Back again. Sae'Von and I are back recording an episode, but today we've got a guest that we are very fortunate to have on the podcast as he's en route traveling back to hometown. We have MDMotivator, Zach Dereniowski. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. James, Sae'Von, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited.
Appreciate you being here. Hey, so let's, you've got a large following, right? You've got some big purpose in the content that you put out, but give us an elevator pitch for who is MDMotivator? Who is Zach? What do you do? What do you stand for?
Just jumping right at it, eh? Okay. Who am I? That's a question that I don't have an answer to, that I probably ask myself that daily. What makes me happy? Who am I? My name is Zach. I can just give a quick synopsis of who I am, like where I got to here today. James has probably heard this before because I know James from a company in the past. So my name is Zach. I'm originally from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I failed out of college. I got into medical school. And when in medical school, a lot of things happened, which we can dive into, to a breaking point where I felt extremely alone. And one of the things I was told was to journal my thoughts or let my thoughts out on paper. And I did that on TikTok and became friends with another medical professional online. And we started a clothing company. And really, I guess, through that journey of now quitting medical school, which we can maybe dive into, and I was from Sydney, to now is my mission is to make emotions and feelings cool. That's probably like the most simplistic way of saying it. And there's a lot of avenues and ways I'm trying to go about that. And I'm on a journey, I guess now, an uncertain journey, not a linear road like higher education can bring you, but really excited and looking forward to each day. So yeah, and this decision to quit medical school is about 4 weeks ago. So this is actually the first time really talking about it. So I don't have like a right answer for you guys. So I apologize. It doesn't like come out right. There's no proper way. It's raw and it's new to me still.
Yeah, it sounds like you're just on the journey. But we appreciate you being here. Sae'Von, you got anything you want to start with?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and obviously, thank you for joining us today, Zach, and being so comfortable to just be transparent. But that even point of what you made about not having the right thing to say, there is no right thing to say, right? And I feel that falls in line with your mission to make emotions and make feelings and make transparent feelings be cool again, is because over who knows when it started really happening, but people kind of fell into this tendency where certain emotions are okay to transmit and other ones we hide and we stash away. So what I'd like to dive into, so long as you're comfortable with it, is what brought you to the most recent decision to change paths a bit and leave medical school? Because I imagine that wasn't a necessarily easy decision or a decision you took very lightly. So how did you arrive at that?
Yeah, that wasn't an easy or rash decision at all. So January 2020 is when I started medical school at the University of Sydney. And when I started medical school, a lot of things really fell into place. So first, medical school was challenging. Second, I went through a 6-year relationship breakup with a girlfriend, which I identified as my source of happiness. I had ACL knee surgery, so I couldn't work out or play sports like I used to. I think I said medical school was hard already. And just a bunch of these things were coming in from all different directions, essentially got me to like a breaking point. And I was running in the middle of downtown, and it was the middle of the day, and I was just hysterically crying and seeing these busy people walking past me. And I recognized I'm not okay. It wasn't until that like epiphany of recognizing in the street that I'm not okay. And then after I sought support, I started, I guess, advocating for mental health, because I've always believed in mental health. I just didn't think it would impact me or people that are like strong I wouldn't think it would be something that I would ever have to deal with. And it was through that experience that I guess I've become much more intuitive and self-aware, whether it's through trying to live as much in the present or meditate or just ask myself questions. Who is Zachary? What makes me happy? And recognizing, am I actually doing what I want, or am I following my ego? And like I said, when I first started this conversation, I failed out of college when I was 18. I was kicked out of my house and essentially did everything to prove them wrong, to like be at a point where I could be like, college dropout, made to medical school, academically proved them wrong. But throughout that time, I was essentially just doubting my own capabilities and putting my blinders on. And I let the ego drive me to a route that I didn't want to go to. And it wasn't until I took those blinders off because of COVID and being home alone and now going through mental health and like trying to cope with that, recognizing this is an amazing path, but this isn't my calling. And it wasn't really something easy to come to terms with, because medicine, like any, I guess, higher academic like standard, is like you go on like this conveyor belt, almost like of like you get on it in high school or college or pre-med or MCAT or med school, and debt and time and investment and all these things, you're just getting higher and higher on the conveyor belt. If you want to jump off, you can't. And people who jump off don't talk about it. So I guess, vulnerable as could be, jumped off it. And it wasn't an easy decision. It was one that probably took 6 or 7 months actually to make. And after I click the button of like cancel, I've never been more looking forward to the future and feeling like this weight or this burden was off my shoulders, because now I have the next 40, 50 years of me again to pave me again in whatever direction that goes. And that doesn't anything against being a doctor, because I think that's one of the most incredible careers you could have. But finding out that wasn't for me, even at this stage, was a blessing, because there's still so much of life left to live. So that's kind of my answer. I don't know if that went on a tangent.
Man, that's another thing. There are no tangents.
Okay.
Oftentimes the tangent is where the actual purpose lies in even communicating something. Because then we can kind of start to get deeper into our psyche and our subconscious to really like, damn, meander, find out, oh, well, that's actually what I needed to get off my chest. But kudos to you for taking, whether it was self-imposed, the kind of time to slow down or otherwise, because to your point, that conveyor belt, it's not just med school, but there are so many areas in life. And once we kind of sign up, it's like, I guess this is what I am going to do, and there's no out. And that idea of like the sunk cost fallacy. So, hey man, you had that realization, and now, as you said, you have so much time in front of you to be able to realign yourself. And a question I had is just curious about you acknowledging that part of it may have been driven by this desire to prove some people wrong who doubted you in the past.
Yeah.
What steps did you take to feel that you were able to move past that and one, identify that may have been a driving force behind your initial decision to go to med school, but then to let that go as well?
Yeah. So a few things. First and foremost, like I'm talking like drive to the max. So like I called my dean when I was 18 after I failed out of freshman, thinking I was going to convince him. And he said, Zachary, college isn't right for you. And I'll never forget that phone call and going downstairs to my parents and them like saying, move out. And like I framed my first freshman year transcripts and put them by my bed and in my bathroom. So every like night and morning, I see that. That was the reminder. It wasn't med school or becoming a doctor. It was like, this is what you did to yourself. You need to get your shit straight kind of vibe. And it wasn't until I got into medical school and then not only like proved them wrong, but through proving them wrong, found my own self-belief that I was capable. Like I said, once I recognized I was capable and like one of my driving factors was my ex-girlfriend. Like her belief in me was probably bigger than myself. So like she drove me. And then once I lost that belief, I lost proving them wrong because I was there. It was more so, is this right? You're just left with what you've created. And it was in that moment, essentially, like I said, it wasn't even the first few months, because it wasn't until like when I went for that run, when I had that like epiphany, but like the realization and things started to fall into place. Like, is this even right? What am I doing this for? And just questioning all throughout probably the end of 2020. And it wasn't until 2021 when I was like, maybe I should do something different. Maybe and quit medical school is like the wrong wording. It just sounds very harsh. It was like, I found that wasn't my passion. I'm pivoting away. And one of my good friends used this amazing analogy, and he's like, picking a career, finding what you want to do in life is like going to Baskin Robbins and trying sample ice cream. You can try like 10, you can try like 10 different samples and like 7 or 8 of them are good, but there's that one that's great. And you don't know which one's the great one or the best one unless you try a lot. And that's the one thing I wish that I did, and a lot of people did from a younger age, is try as many things as you can as early as you can, because that's truly the only way to find what's right for you and to find your purpose.
James?
Yeah, so you know that you don't want to be on the path of being a medical practitioner. Yeah. So, I mean, what at this point right now, what sets your soul on fire?
Yeah, honestly, the best thing that happened to me when I was in Australia was, I guess, connecting with strangers and using the power of the internet to change people's lives. I think we live in a time right now where the internet can fuel any of your dreams, any of aspirations you have in almost instantaneously. And I have like a platform now, but I just see this as like the start, the power of people and the world we live in with COVID and the lack of kindness and the isolation and the divide and the segregation, to bring some glimpse of hope to those individuals that I do help, but more so, hopefully, the people that see the videos that I'll never be able to see. That's kind of where I see myself right now. That sets me on fire. And the uncertainty of it all too. Like, to film the social experiments, I don't go there with a script. It's just like, you never know who you're going to see, what story you're going to run into. Like, the not knowing excites me. Because I've been so type A my whole life, and giving this side a chance is giving me life, giving me oxygen.
When you talk about, can you explain for anyone that doesn't know what you mean by the social experiments?
Yeah. So when I was in Sydney, Australia, we would go on the street, sounds so bad. And I would videotape with one of my good friends, Fabio, shout out Fabrizi. And essentially I just have conversations with strangers and hear their stories. And whether it was through giving $20 or a gift or whatever it was, the goal wasn't to give the money or the gift, but the goal is when I gave something or showed some act of kindness, it opened like this door for them to reciprocate, whether it was kindness or vulnerability, to create that conversation, whatever they wanted to talk about. And I wanted to hear their story. And so like, there's 2 different people. One, Jacob, he was 30 years old, and a girl named Rose who was 19. But overnight we raised, I think, $7,000 for Jacob, and we got him an apartment, we got him a job, we got him out of his abusive relationship, we got him a set of friends, and essentially allowed him to get back on his feet. And the same goes for Rose in her own way. But I know so many people, like, I'm going back home to Canada right now to my family for the next probably 3 or 4 months. And I'm blessed to have that in my life. A lot of people don't have that. And when you don't have that and you have nothing to fall back on, it's easy to fall down a hole. So if I can, not me personally, but allow the community that I have to help people get out of that hole, then I feel like that's good. I mean, that's good. Like I've learned that like the most like selfless acts is actually the most selfish acts. It's addictive. It's the most rewarding thing is helping other people. And we get so caught up in like bettering ourselves, which you should always prioritize you, that we forget that anything we do for other people feels better for ourselves. Yeah. Someone talk, because I'm just ranting.
There's no ranting here, man. It's all
no tangent, but it was a rant. It was no tangent. It was a rant, Sae'Von.
Now, with that, what made you even? Obviously, there's a history online of kind of man, woman in the street sort of thing. But was it another incident that just compelled you and Fabrizi to go out and say, "Yo, let's get these experiments running. Because obviously." maybe not obviously, seems like that's like a pretty significant, hey, let's just go do this random thing, but then to commit to it and wind up putting somebody in a home and just taking it all the way there. So how did that even get going?
Yeah, so I grew up following, speaking on like mental health topics, whether it was depression, anxiety, social anxiety, whatever the topics were, like 5 signs, or these are the signs, be aware, whatever it was, like the stuff you see on Instagram. And it was amazing to see that was impacting people to raise awareness. But after a while, I'm like, raising awareness is great, but how come we can't just like actually impact people's lives like individually? Like that was like more meaningful to me. And so we started, and that's what goes back to like emotions and feelings. Cool. What I'm really trying to do, it's probably not shown the best yet, but it will be in the next few months, is I'm trying to bring, like, if you watched YouTube back in like 2014 to 2016, those like almost cringy fake social experiments, but make them mental health and like life-changing together. So like I'm on like Omegle or wearing a Spider-Man costume, or like whatever the prank sort of like thing is, but like making a social experiment and more wholesome approach to it, to connect and change people. And yeah, that's really what I want to do. And I don't know where that's going to lead me as well, man. So like, it's so new, and like I'm still in quarantine, so like I haven't even really started that journey here in my hometown, but I got some really exciting ideas, and I'm just excited to just see where it goes. And if anyone's listening to this and they're questioning, like, are they on the right path, and they're afraid of like the doubt or people judging them, fuck it. We're all gonna die. Like we're all gonna go at some point. We're all human. I don't mean that in like a that bad way. I just mean like life is so short and so precious to be living, as cliche as it is with the what ifs. And if you have like a compelling idea, or your intuition is telling you something, I highly suggest you look into it while that opportunity still presents itself, because you never know.
Quick follow-up on, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead. Completely.
I was just going to ask you, because I was thinking about what you just said, the ice cream analogy, and then your own realization that, okay, I realized I proved I could do this doctor thing, but fuck this shit. How do you...
Swear, good. That's what I need to know.
How would you recommend that somebody best identify when they have given something enough of a fair shot before they say, you know what, screw this? Or maybe, you know what, this is a good flavor, but I want the great flavor. Let's try this next one.
Damn. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for that. If I did, I probably wouldn't have been in medical school. That's the truth. I don't know when it's too much, like you've tried, but I feel like, as opposed to trying something for a short period of time, just try as many things as you can. And maybe the quantity will be overwhelming, but yeah, I don't know. James, do you have any ideas for that? That's a great question.
I mean, I think it, like everything, I think it definitely takes some messy, radical action. I think that you are going to have to put yourself in a position that you're moving so fast that you fall on your face. But as far as going as deep as you've gone, where you went and committed to that and then pivoted like you're pivoting, I mean, I've done that, but I haven't done it like that. That's way deeper than I've ever gone and then pivoted. Like we're talking undergrad, then we're talking, apply the MCAT, and then we're talking getting into med school and then doing med school. I don't know, man. I think that it requires a lot of focus, as I'm sure you obviously know, to get to where you've gotten. But I think also, if you don't give it a fair shake, if you go out and you pussyfoot, if you go out and let's just drop something in the bucket, let's half-ass do this. I mean, are you really going to know if it's for you? Because, I mean, as silly as that little metaphorical picture is, when you're mining sitting there, sometimes you're one stroke away from hitting the diamonds, and sometimes you're 5,000 and you're never going to get to it. But do you really know? And unless you go out there and you try?
You don't. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned is as bad as it may sound, it may burn you out. Try to say yes to as many things as you can, not because of the yes, but where that yes may bring you that you would have no idea that you could have had that connection through that. That goes back to like what Sae'Von with like trying as many scoops, because maybe I don't like this scoop, but I'm eating this scoop and the guy beside me he's like, not that scoop. Go to the gelato shop next door. And you go to the next store and you're like, I never even went to the gelato store. Right? You don't know what, I don't know why we're staying on the ice cream. You get what I'm saying.
Works.
Thank you. All right. But yeah, you get the idea. Try as many things as you can, as early as you can, and really give it a fair shot. That's I think the moral of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your following. How did you get to over 1 million on TikTok, over a couple 100,000 on IG, 10,001 on YouTube? Can you talk to me about where that started?
12,000.
Oh, pardon me. it was literally 10,000 48 hours ago.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm proud, all right? I think social media, man, if you want to grow on social media in 2021, it's very simple. It's all about short form video, whether it's Instagram with its reels, TikTok as a native feature, YouTube with the shorts, even Snapchat with things Spotlight. So first and foremost, getting comfortable in front of a camera. Secondly, trying out as many different styles of video that suit what you're trying to like get across in the content that you're trying to create. And once you find something that works, double down on that and create a series. So when I started MDMotivator on TikTok, essentially that's how I grew my platforms. When I had 0 followers on TikTok, I found what works and I created a 100-part series, essentially doing this, sitting in my room, 100 parts. But I grew like 1 million followers from that, and I have 2.3 million on that, essentially by just finding things that work and then running it into the ground and then pivoting. Jake and I are, James knows, we would micro pivot. So you would never really like change too much. It'd just be a slight change. So I used to like point and say, here are 5 signs of anxiety. Next time it'd be like me doing a voiceover. Next time it'd be me running with Fabrizi saying the 5, like the content stayed the same, but you want to change the experience for the viewer, because although it may be high value, your audience watching will be like, it's great, but it's just another one of those. And that's the next thing it's all about the attention and it's all about the watch time. And that's why it's important to pivot as well. So those are probably, and then the next thing is be consistent and be okay with putting yourself out there. Anyone with a following who may seem confident started with 0 followers, and they were just as afraid as you are to put themselves out there and be judged by their peers and friends and family. So go for it, and you'd be surprised in 2021 how fast you can grow if you're consistent and you have a purpose for why you're doing what you're doing.
On pulling on the thread of the negative energy, what does it look like for you with negative comments, with negative reactions, close family, friends? How do you handle that? Do you care about, Road 679 that's commenting with an AVI that has no picture? Do you care about mom saying that, this sucks? Do you not care about either of them?
Mom's a savage. Okay. Honestly, man, when I first went viral, I remember going through, like, you scroll through the comments and there's 1,000 or whatever, 100, whatever there is. And you only stop and you see good job, thumbs up, heart. And you see, why are you doing this? Or you suck, or you're a loser. And you just stop and you're like, huh? And you get so focused on this 1 out of 1,000. And I guess that's us as humans. Maybe you guys want to dive into why we do that. But I used to hyper focus on that and like question it. I would never like call them back out, but it would bother me. I'd be like, what's wrong with the content I'm creating? Why? And just question it. But now I actually don't read the comments. I'll read the comments for the first like 5-10 minutes I post something. I'll never go back. Because if it brings me up, it can bring me down. And if I just let myself say like level-headed and I know the content I'm producing, like my core, like friends or family don't say anything bad about it, then it's good. But if there's ever an issue, then yeah, of course I'll look into it. So I think that's probably the best way. Don't read too much into the conversation or the comments, the good or the bad. Stay level-headed. Easier said than done.
Mm-hmm. No, but I think that's great advice. Is literally do it and then walk away. I think it's, I don't know if it was Brad Pitt or some actor who says they literally never watch any film they ever do. They make the movie and then they just keep it moving because it can shake their confidence, or it can make them doubt or question what they know that they do at an elite level. And so I think that even though sometimes people will, obviously there's caveats when you're first starting out, engaging with the comments is a good thing just for the algorithm, but when it's fucking hundreds or thousands of them shits, maybe it's a good time to then pivot, letting the system read through them joints if they need be, but to not let it swing you either way, not let it blow your sails in either direction.
Exactly.
How have you seen your mental health impacted by the content that you put out? Maybe by the responses, maybe by the responses you get on the street, maybe by the people that tag you and things that then ask for medical advice. How has your mental health been affected? And I know that there's probably a long ass answer for that, but maybe there's pockets where it's been high lows. I don't know. Can you speak on that?
Super high at first when I went viral and started growing, then slowly got lower and lower to its lowest probably in November, December of last year. Because honestly, bro, people just go in my DMs and say, hey, I'm not doing good. And the content I'm creating is mental health. I was going through a really shitty time. I felt alone. I didn't want anyone else to feel alone. So I would respond to people. I wasn't giving medical advice, but I was just hey, what's going on? Just having the conversation and opening that gateway. And then it was opening hundreds of them. And I was just getting so burnt out where I didn't even want to go to my social media because I knew I had to respond to X, Y, and Z because they were expecting a response. So once I was okay, what I'm saying with is not responding to the average, I guess, DM and just keep moving forward, then my mental health was good again. So I haven't really had, social media hasn't really impacted me since then. It was only when I was trying to stretch myself too thin when I couldn't perform as a medical student or even post or do live with trying to respond to people or feel like I had the answers. And oftentimes people weren't looking for answers. They just wanted to be heard. I think there can be a lot to be said into that, the importance of listening to people as well. So
do you feel like the social experiments that you're going down are giving way to an opportunity for them to be heard? Is that why you're so drawn to doing this?
I think they not just heard, I just know there's immediate impact. I don't want to say what I'm doing because I don't want anyone to steal the idea. So I can't say the idea yet. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But
you don't speak on everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Yes. I think there's more good in terms of the good that will happen for that person. People banding together, and also feels really gratifying to help another individual. And also from a perspective of if I was 19 years old and going through something and the other person was 19 and their life changed, there's hope. That's the biggest thing is when you get down this hole and it starts to get dark at the top, you feel it's just this is where I'm at. This is what I'm meant to be, and feeling stuck. And if you've ever felt stuck, shout out to you because I feel you. But I can promise you with the right support system around you and your ability to say, hey, I'm not doing okay. You don't need to go into full details. You don't need to say what's going on. Just spark something of a conversation. You'd be surprised at people who may be going through something similar or just the power of someone who can listen to you can have. So I have no idea where I'm going with this, but just speak up if you're going through something because you're not alone and legit, it changes your life. Sae'Von, talk to me, baby.
It's always a balancing act. I don't want to jump in front of, what James might ask, you leave some space for it. But with that, I feel it could pose a bit of a dichotomy, seeing as how your platform is social media and you speak to mental health, but also how notorious social media is for wrecking people's mental health. So have you noticed anything in particular that I would say other than just the outright toxicity that can exist there, but has that ever felt like what's the right word for it? Has it ever felt weird in any kind of way, knowing that your audience, you get them through social media, but for a lot of them, being on social media as a whole, maybe not you, but as a whole, is not good for them.
It's a double-edged sword, right? If they're there already, I'm not causing more damage. If anything, I'm helping like use their time more efficiently. Hopefully they see it that way. But yeah, social media can be toxic. I went into the DMs, but say it or not, every creator, influencer, you not chase the numbers, but you expect certain numbers. And when your videos or things aren't performing, or people around you are doing this, and it's like, you start just judging, am I good enough? Is this, when it's just an algorithm, right? And if the end of the day, like, it takes, like, you have to remind yourself, but like, a video can have 1 million views or it can have 1,000 views, but if it hit that one person and truly impacted that one person to make that change, or reach out to that one person or their ex or their husband or whoever it is and help them through a time, you've done more than anything you could imagine. And I think there's a lot of power in social media, especially with, if you put out good content and the ability for it to reach a larger audience than you ever would be able to in person. So yes. And back to the other question, I guess maybe time management with like blocking off times and looking into like your watch time on your social media apps on your phone, even though most of us avoid it, like looking at your checking and savings account. But I think it's very important to allocate that. And how do you properly allocate it? Obviously you can set, like, there's apps to like shut off like a certain amount of like social media a day, but having an accountability partner, someone else saying, hey, yo, I want to use social media for 30 minutes a day. Join me for the next 2 weeks. Let's keep each other accountable. Sort of like the gym, or sort of like anything, right? To do goals and align with other people that are driven to do the same. So yeah, find a balance. Don't avoid it, but find a balance.
Yeah, I like it. I've definitely been on the other extreme before, where I avoid it. And part of that just being, in a way, procrastination from the using it as a tool side. You know, that's something James has been very helpful with over the years. Just because I had initially just a weird relationship with social media, and also just a privacy thing. And you said just getting more comfortable with it. But I feel for a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, or people who just want to, as you said early on, use the internet to just be like diesel to their dreams, there can be this hurdle, or this learning curve, and there's so many different facets to it. And definitely those numbers, whether it's you get on YouTube and you got 4 subscribers and you're kind of like, damn, nobody's even watching this video. Why am I even making this video?
Yeah.
You know, but obviously if you don't put the work in, and living in the world that we do, where so often things can have these quasi immediate returns or impact, when you don't see that, to not get discouraged on oneself and then go into a negative place that is literally only from the expectations that one has created in front of them, rather than being present and just doing it and then withdrawing from the outcome, which is a very easy thing to say, you know, a nice quote, but it's much harder to do in practice. Real time has to go into it. Real feelings, real thought, real energy, real money goes into it.
Yeah. And shout, you guys are both in Atlanta. Shout out to the Atlanta rapper Russ, right? He's a living, breathing example of that. I think he made music for like 10 years on SoundCloud, like 14 albums. And it was one song a decade later, and he popped, and it just like, his life changed forever, but he never stopped believing in himself. So I think self-belief and finding that purpose early on, because if you have a purpose or something that's bigger than you, that's driving you to do something, it's much easier to continue when things are telling you, or the numbers are telling you to stop. So finding that gelato scoop, right? As early as you can in life. I think that's easier said than done, like you said, but that's, I think, a really important takeaway that I wish maybe my 18-year-old self would have taken.
For sure. Now, slightly different question. What would be your best recommendation for people in a similar position like you, in terms of the community that they built, internet native? What would be your suggestion, or how have you walking through this process, without going into too much detail, of how to leverage that in real life, right? Because as we see these days, these platforms, boy, you're popping one day, the next you say the wrong thing, gotcha, you know, and it's
the baby.
prime example. So do you have any,
Yeah.
Have you thought about that too much? You know, have you kind of created a contingency? Just what would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. Like me and James actually had a call earlier this week, and that's kind of what I was figuring out is like, how do I make this thing sustainable? It's great to give back and be kind, but like, how do I keep these lights on? How do I pay my bills? How do I move forward with me? Because if I'm not doing those things, the videos or the wholesome content isn't sustainable, right? So I've been, I guess, trying to figure out avenues to do that. But I think the biggest thing you can do as a guy or a girl who's growing a following isn't to focus on the following itself. It's to focus on the emotional connection you have with the community you built. Because that shit is priceless. Like we started a thing called Mental Health Movement. James was involved in that. And it was this like YMM, MHM community of like certain like people and just like diehards and people who support you. And whether that's getting merch, whether that's downloading an app, whether that's trying out product, and not like using people, but like, I don't know what direction. I'm just saying like help people and create impact, and the good you put out in the world will come back to you in terms of that approach. I don't really have an answer in terms of, I guess, monetization. I have a few ideas, but like they're very native. And like I just said, I moved back like 10 days ago, so I don't really want to say them. Maybe cool. Maybe I can say one. Maybe I'll say one.
No. You don't even got to get into it. It was more so the whole methodology or the mindset. I think you said it about the emotional connection. I was curious your thoughts, just because as generous as the internet has been for the people creating things for folks and for people, you know, like I am and still today, who find people through the internet who change my life drastically by the information they share, how they go about sharing it, but knowing at the end of the day, the internet is something that's beyond our control, and these platforms in particular. So I just wanted to just give some space to acknowledge that if people aren't thinking long-term about their relationship with the following they have thought or have built, and they're only worried about that next 1,000 followers, that next 1,000,000 followers, and they forget all about the people they've already impacted and drawn in, then if something happened to that platform or the internet, then they may have a harder time staying tapped in with that community.
And that goes back to, so emotional connection and also diversifying your platforms. So you made it on TikTok, but you need to diversify to Instagram or YouTube or whatever the other platforms are, because at any day, like last year, there was a point when Trump was going to ban TikTok. Like an app can be gone tomorrow and whatever your following was, it's gone. So diversifying your, I guess, not fan base, but like your community across multiple platforms, and really focusing on the emotional connection, and never forget about the people that were the real ones from day one, that believed in you before cloud or like that really want. Yeah. So don't forget that and do right by people.
On Sae'Von, if I may, on that do right by people and don't forget about the day ones before you had clout. I'm curious your thoughts on the community and the support from other creators that are at your level. Okay, I'm not talking about someone has 1,000 followers, you have 300,000. I'm not talking about that kind of support. The individuals that sit side by side with you, that are looked at similarly to you. How's the support from the community in that space, specifically in where you're at with more mental health awareness and the doctors? I mean, the doctors, the practitioners, et cetera.
It's mixed, man. Like it's like any space, right? Some people are proud of you. Some people don't want to give their secret sauce away, right? Like that's the name of the game. But I think from like a creator standpoint, people are much more vulnerable if they know you're a creator and you've been doing it like for a year, 2 years, like saying I'm burnt out or I don't want to do this anymore. I just need some time. Like a lot of your favorite creators outside of mental health, the ones that I know at least, their life isn't what they show. And I know that's very obvious to say about social media, but like them just straight up saying it in some of these chats, I'm not going to say any names, but like you'd be surprised. And like, it's sad. It's sad because like, it goes back to, I think what we were saying with Sae'Von, with chasing the numbers, or the numbers aren't where they want them to be, and always trying to go viral or be the next best thing. It's scary. That is, sometimes a sole driver for some of these people. And when you lose that, they lose themselves, and just being there for people and getting it. but from like, I guess what you were saying, from like a medical professional or Dr. Kojo, or just like people that are like at a good, following, there's good and bad, just like anybody else.
Do you find yourself in a position where there's people that, you said it's a mix of good and bad. Are more people leaning and giving to you in the community, or are they taking from you?
A good question. I'm naturally very giving. So like if people ever ask me to like share their stuff in my story, or even a small following, like, or just for no, like not, like, I don't know. I think maybe I'm more giving. I don't think a lot of people, maybe, I don't know. I don't really read into people's like their vibe. If it's a good thing to do and it doesn't hurt my phone, I'll just do it. Like, I don't know. I don't think too much into it, to be honest. There's no depth in my answer, to be honest.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It sounds like, you just kind of shoot from the hip, man. If it makes sense, if you want to support them, cool, do it. If you don't. That's
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a great case in point is your being here today with us now.
No, man, I'm really, really appreciative. And it was just nice to reconnect with James. We haven't really had a conversation like this in a while, and to meet you, Sae'Von. So thank you guys.
For sure. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. I want to pull on the impact that you and Jake primarily had with mental health movement. I know it started as one thing, it moved into another, and now it's going a different direction. But can you talk about the impact, like with the scholarships and everything that went down there? Because, I wasn't involved post podcast launch, got a few episodes out, and I wasn't involved in the mental health movement, prioritizing some other things. But I mean, I know that y'all went down the path of scholarships and whatnot. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, the impact that had?
Yeah, that was awesome. I think that goes back to like what I was saying before when I was posting videos to raise awareness. And now I'm trying to like create videos to make impact. That was the same thing with Jake and I with mental health movement. We had merch, we were doing the podcast, but like, how can we like directly create impact in people's lives? And we both had a decent following at the time. And one of our good friends, and shout out Nikhil, he works for Bold, which is helps with student scholarships. And we contacted myself, and we set up a mental health movement scholarship alongside of Bold, where we gave 4 students $1,000 each. And then we actually just did that again. So we've given $8,000 to students. Also, we've given over $10,000 away to nonprofits for mental health over the year through the selling of merch. So like being able to, like I said, help individuals through the power of the internet is amazing. And it was just through a friend, Nikhil, friends with him when he started TikTok early 2020, and he just started getting a job at Bold, the scholarship place. He's like, you guys are perfect. How would you like to be on board and be part of the scholarship? And we'd love to. So anything that can create impact, Jake and I were behind. And that was just fortunately another way to do so.
What was the process like in terms of applying? How did y'all decide who?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Scholarship.
Yeah. So we gave 4 away twice for the first. So they were both sets were awarded to high school or college students in the US who have personally struggled with mental health, or someone really close to them who it's impacted their lives. And they would have to write a 300-word essay. And there was, I think, over like 10,000 applicants or something. Ridiculous, like a crazy number. And fortunately, the good people of Bold were able to narrow it down to the 100 finalists. And then Jake and I went through 50 and 50, and then we chose 10, and then we chose 5, then we chose 1. So that was kind of like the process of how it went. But I was definitely blown away by the amount of people that wrote essays, because that's a lot of work. If I saw that, I'd be like, maybe I'll come back to it. But like real people and real stories. And it was really, and that goes back to what I was saying before, is like, there's so many people going through stuff that you'd have no idea. I think mental health, the biggest issue with mental health is how invisible it is. Yeah, dark room, Uber Eats, sad, like the shovel look. Yeah, but like the person who goes to work every single day, goes to the gym, is super kind to you, high energy. You'd have no idea what some people go through, yourself, James, myself, right? So it's like, always be kind, because that really can it can make it matter. It matters. So yeah, I guess it's given me a new perspective of people.
No, I bet. And even throughout that experience, because it makes me think about when you opened up your DMs for people to voice themselves, to be heard. Did you find that going through that, reading those essays, was it hard to do? Like, did it drain you, or did it kind of invigorate you to know that y'all were touching these people? Because I imagine reading through 50 stories of what people are struggling with, how were you able, that's a better way to ask the question, how did you keep your mental health in a decent place as you were looking through so much of what people were dealing with?
Yeah, it's about finding a balance, right, man? Like, I think whether it's spending more time away from your screen that week, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's having your favorite pizza, whether it's going out for a hike, but if you're going to like do something, associate something that's out of your daily routine, that's more emotionally draining, like reading 50 essays, make sure you have something else in your schedule that's going to combat that and bring that self-love and self-care back, because that 100% battery is going to drain whether you like it or not. And you need to find a way, whether it's a scoop of gelato or whatever it needs to be, to get that battery back up. Bring it back.
Hey, man, what?
On that scoop of gelato or a hike or what have you, how have you seen your physical health play into bettering your mental health?
Bruh, my physical health is probably the worst it's ever been. I haven't been to the gym in 4 months because of 3 months of like Australia being in lockdown and now in quarantine. But in terms of when my mental health was at its lowest, it was bad, man. Like, I had ACL surgery, and like I wouldn't even like do my rehab, like required rehab. I'd be like skipping, and I'm like, this is so stupid. Why am I skipping? And then I would order food because I wasn't feeling social enough to go grocery shopping. So I would eat food I shouldn't eat. And just like, I saw things snowball. So my physical health was severely impacted. But when my mental health started to feel better, I didn't immediately just go to broccoli and vegan protein. It wasn't like a, right? I don't know if that's probably the best, but like, it was slow. Like, I was noticing I was making smarter decisions, small things, and it built back to where I'm in a good space. And I guess in terms of my diet, I'm no vegan superpower like my friend Sae'Von, but I'm excited to get back in the gym. I've been doing my ACL rehab still about 18 months out. And just like, it's the physical health is a journey, just like the mental health. I think they're one and the same.
Yeah. No, I think both of us, everybody here can agree with that. That was a very good question to pull out, James.
Yeah, man, it's interesting to see. You know, I don't think you as an individual, Zach, since I first met you, have necessarily changed. But I do feel, from what I can see publicly, but I do feel as though you're leaning more authentically into what you want to do on a daily basis. I'm curious as to, do you ever just get tired of having millions of people that follow you on social? Do you get tired of having to post consistently?
Yeah.
Day in, day out? Wait, like,
yeah, man.
Talking about that. Because it's like, at some point, isn't it kind of like a rat race in some regards? Like, if you stop, your influence goes away.
It's like roulette, right? You're at the table, you're like doubling, but it's like, when do you leave? Or when are you content with what you have? I think that goes back to like not to chase the numbers and purpose. And if I'm doing like 2 videos a week where we raise $10,000 or change this person's life, like for impacting people directly, I get less caught up in the numbers of social media and know that like on the ground, like we changed these 2 people's lives this week. And that's helping me. That's why I want to get more into that stuff versus what I was doing, because it's less focused on like quantity and post and more on just like, this is the direct impact, and hopefully the community will support that. And just like, yeah, that is probably the biggest thing. But yeah, I get drained from posting on social media. And I've noticed since I've grown on social media, like when I put out messages now that I'm verified, which is a blessing, people respond quicker. But like in my normal life, when people don't text me back quick, I'm like, what the fuck? Where are you at? Like, so I think that was like maybe an ego check for me. Blue tick means nothing, but like in terms of social media, yeah, you burn out.
That shit's hilarious, man. I wouldn't even thought about how that would impact somebody's just, unread, sort of vibe. But
why the fuck am I unread right now?
Yeah, do you know who the fuck I am? At this point, have you chosen to bring on staff to help you do some of these things that just on a day-to-day basis you don't really need to be doing?
Yeah. I don't. I have a videographer who works for me now that I'm starting in 3 days, works for me full time. But in terms of staff, in terms of like that, not as of right now. Hoping to get to that point early 2022, but no.
Hell yeah.
Are you looking to work, Sae'Von?
Oh shit, not for you, brother. No.
Wipe the resume across.
Yeah. No, I just asked because I don't know at what point, because I don't have some colossal social media community, but I see people who, because I create courses, I teach blockchain education, but I know that there are a lot of people even in just that lane who will get VAs. I got a good buddy of mine, he's in wholesale real estate, and people who in some ways, what everybody's doing is different, but they bring on supplemental staff, even if it's in a part-time capacity, so that they have more mental bandwidth to focus on the big high-level picture and less on the stuff that somebody else could execute or do. And I wasn't sure if you would already made
that. I would love to. And that's maybe something I'm leaning towards in 2022, but as of right now, no, I don't.
Hell yeah.
What are you thinking, James?
Right. While you think, James, at this point in time where you're at right now, Zach, what would you say are your must-do daily habits, routines, and then what do you have to do every week? What do you have to do every month? Walk us through that if you wouldn't mind.
Wow. Must get up before 6 a.m. Haven't done that since I moved back, but it's slowly, my time is moved back every day because it's a 15-hour time difference. But 6 a.m. wake up is like my favorite, like to feel like I've woken up at a good time. Have breakfast. That's so weird. It's like the first time I'm not in school. I don't really have a job. I don't, that's kind of like the process of figuring this out is going to the gym every day or like doing something active is huge for me. I need that. I've gone insane the last 11 days, but like basketball or working out or doing something like that. And staying hydrated, making sure I'm drinking more water, less coffee, because it's easy to flip the switch for me. And I'm just looking forward to like reconnecting with people, whether it's my family, my friends, or just, like I said, the social experiments, like going on the streets and just connecting with people. That gives me the most life. So if I can do something where I can connect to a new person every single day, that just changes me as a person. So I think those are important things for me. I don't have a better answer because my life's so different now. Sorry, bro.
No, man, no apologies. Once again, man, I'm just curious, because everybody's routine is different. Some people, they flow better with no routine, with wake up and let's see what I feel like we need to do. Others, they need that regimen. I think of, Jocko Willink, who James put me on. He gets up, was at 3 a.m. and he takes a picture of us watching the woods, something like that.
I mean, sometime before 4:40, he never wakes up earlier or never wakes up later than 4:40 and always puts a picture on Twitter and Instagram every damn day.
Damn.
Good
for him. And I think I guess in terms of goals, so I'm going to be filming 4 days a week for 6 hours, which is a lot of filming.
That's a lot of filming.
So pretty much every other day I will have a new shoot. And obviously there's like pre-production, post-production, figuring out the ideas and like making things happen. So I'm going to be full on once I start this thing. So I'll develop a new routine because it's a new life for me. So I don't know what the right answer is there, but gym in the morning is most ideal. and trying to stay hydrated. That's so generic. That's your answer.
You know how I can tell?
You're wiki out.
Yeah, I can tell you just got out of med school because you keep thinking about things in terms of right answer, wrong answer.
Yeah, legit, bro. You lose your critical thinking skills. As ironic that is.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's pull on this. Something that I've always associated with you is the phrase "you matter most." Okay, why you matter most? Why not Zach matters most, or they matter most, or the people in this color matter most? Why the phrase "you"?
You is the most like individualized response you can give to someone, whether it's he, she, they, Zach, James, Sae'Von, you. If I say you, I'm talking to you. That was probably the reason why you matter was big. It still is big. People say you matter all the time. You matter, you matter, you matter. And all the times in the comments, like I said, don't read them. But at that time in my life, I did. People be like, no, I don't matter. Or I kind of matter. I'm like, it's as simple as this. I was like, they don't matter. How can I say it more definitively? How about let's say you matter most? And you can't argue it. And then like, that's how it really was born. I was just responding to a video. And then I was always responding to people, you matter most, you matter most. I'm like, this is taking too long. YMM. And then I'm like, this is kind of catchy. And then people got behind it. So people started getting tattoos like this. People got car stickers. Teachers were putting up signs in their classrooms. Like, that was what I mean. Like, that felt way different than a following or likes. It was like that real deep emotional connection with people I've never met. I'm like, wow, social media can be powerful and beautiful if used correctly. So that's kind of how it was born. And it was very simple. Just, yeah, that's it.
Have you studied a lot about affirmations?
I was about to ask you about gratitude.
I mean, like, I haven't studied a lot, but I've started using, I guess, positive affirmations earlier, mid last year, and just, I guess, writing them down physically. There's something to be said about writing something with a pencil and a paper and writing like whatever those affirmations are that maybe you struggle with, or there's obviously lists you can find online. But I fully believe in that. The way you talk to yourself, the way you write about yourself impacts you consciously, subconsciously, and then the people around you.
No, I 100% agree, because that explanation of how you arrived at the you matter most is like affirmation 101, of taking the strongest language possible, putting it in present tense and making it clear and having a palpable feeling behind it. And so the way you walked us through that, it seemed very much like that was just an intuitive thing that you identified with, which is why in my head, I was just curious if it was something you studied at all. Because I think for some folks, something in life brings them to that realization. They're like, oh, wow, the things we say have an impact, whether it be to us internally, verbally, written to other people. And I think that's part of why, and this is me going on a little bit of an energetic tangent, but I think that's part of why you saw the success, you see the success that you are, is because you've helped amplify something that is very deeply powerful on an energetic level at scale. And so by helping other people step into that own power, it's kind of just, that law of reciprocity in the universe kicking itself back around, because not everybody with a platform such as yours sends out love. Some people use their platforms literally just to take shots at other people, and that's how they build a platform, which boggles my fucking mind. But, as humans, I guess we like conflict. So just to see what one phrase you've already been able to do that with, maybe just know that that's a route, at least from where I'm sitting vantage-wise, that I think you could do a lot with and really open a lot of eyes even further, just leaning into that.
I will. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Zach, don't you have a music video? Aren't you on a song? Multiple songs?
Am on a song. Song drops November 5th. You Are Not Alone. That's the name of the jam. Music video. James, you've seen the videos, right? Where it's like the blindfolded, if you are struggling with anxiety or depression, hug me.
Yeah.
It's that vibe mixed with Drake's God's Plan vibe. That's like the best way to describe it. So bringing like giving back and mental health into one with people on the street. So
yeah, we have
that's a whole nother world, bro. Like just one of my friends, power of social media, producer in the States. He's like, Zach, how would you like to make a song? I'm like, okay. I had no idea. He's just like, let's do it. I'd love to help you. And so he got me in contact with the girl who sung the hook for one of Macklemore's biggest songs and another big rapper. And they produced it and really helped me make this happen. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, bro. That's another example of another ice cream scoop.
Yeah, well, Sae'Von's very large in the music space. I want to kind of poke on that. He's rapper. He's going. I mean, the audio savant, legitimately. Like when you were like, oh, I don't have my mic. I'm like, doesn't fucking matter. Sae'Von's fine. You can be outside next to the interstate. He'll figure it out. I promise.
What kind of music do you make, Sae'Von? I'll have to check you out on. Are you on like Apple Music and Spotify, I imagine, as well?
Yeah, no, for sure. I am. And thank you about my voice. I always tell people I had no choice in the matter. So I just kind of, got dealt a good hand. But best way I could kind of describe it, at least the vibe that I'm the era I'm in, is like a combination of Hans Zimmer and 808 Mafia. That's the quickest way to describe it. Yeah.
Big body sound. Big body.
I'm excited to hear it tonight. After this, I'm gonna jam to some of it for sure.
Hell yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Is it what's the plug for people who are listening right now? What's your musician name? Sae'Von, or what's the name?
Sae'Von Springer. Yeah. I thought about doing. No, I didn't think of any goofy name other than Vegan Heathen. But yeah, it actually came from a song. The song's not out anymore, but just Sae'Von Springer.
Okay,
man, I appreciate that.
Dope.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Zach, you said that song drops when?
November 5th.
Hey, okay.
Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
You gonna start your career in the music space?
Nah, I don't think the music space is my play.
Hold on. Let's go abstract for a second. It could be the place because you're talking about micro content, aren't you? Why are you not? Your voice has been used over 100,000 times across.
That video got abused.
Yeah, and your name is not associated with it. Your voice is, because I literally, no one that follows you put it on their story, and I sent it to you and I was like, homie, isn't this your voice?
It was like this random guy from like Guatemala, like his video.
Yeah, he used your voice. But the reason why I even say that is, TikTok with these jingles, these things that are used. I mean, have you thought about running down the path? I mean, have you also thought about, and Sae'Von can talk a little bit more about this, about the NFT side? Dude, you have an audience. There's a lot of stuff popping in the blockchain space. I'm sure Sae'Von off rip would just have some ideas.
Yeah, I would be more than willing to listen to that. Sae'Von, if you have any thoughts on the NFT space, and if I was wanting to enter it, how would I do that?
I think it would go back to what your ultimate outcome, what you'd want that to be. But I'll be mindful in a sense of, I can hit you directly with some of these just because we don't want nobody biting your stuff. Basically, there's a couple different ways to go about it. Some people, they'll create a piece of artwork. I think that's the most common thing that people are familiar with. And I think that even if you did nothing more than take the YMM, literally, if you did that, man, enough people support you. I think at that point, then tie a part of that into a charity, into something that will go forward and produce more good for people. So it could be, a different type of scholarship. Maybe it's something that funds an apprenticeship where people can go and have an experiential scholarship. But you could definitely tie that into being funded with the royalty mechanism on the back end of your NFTs. And that's something a lot of different companies are doing, or they'll literally sell the NFTs in support of charity. So you can do that a couple different ways. You could do it with audio. You can make the NFT not just visually based, but visual and audio. You could have it associated with an experience, whether it be a call with you, a meet and greet. It's so wide open. It's almost like asking somebody, okay, how are you going to succeed on TikTok? Right? It's like, well, there's some tenets, but how do you want to approach it?
Okay, interesting. And I've obviously seen NFT all over the internet, but I haven't really dived into it because I didn't really know what it was or how I could get involved. So if I was, I guess I'm legit a beginner, never done any research, what resources would you direct me into, like find out more information or to learn more about it? Any YouTubers or sites that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so you could definitely go to OpenSea.io or .com, but that's one of the biggest marketplaces where they sell it, and I'm pretty sure they have some informational content there. But you can look that up. You can look through Gemini. They have like a encyclopedia thing. But honestly, man, if you just go on YouTube, you type in what is an NFT, then you'll get a bunch of videos. James was talking about, I think 1:37 p.m. They did like 100-page write-up on it. But basically, all an NFT really does is it is verifiable authenticity. That's all it actually is. And so the beauty behind that is people like you can then have something that anybody else will know with 100% certainty. This is authentic from Zach himself. Like, this isn't a fugazi. This isn't a ripoff.
Yeah, don't question it.
There's no questioning it. And then you can associate programmed royalties into the back end of any resale of that NFT down the road. So if you issued, let's just say you took a photo of your tattoo, you had somebody do like a crazy illustration of it, and then you put like a dope audio behind it, whether it just be instrumental or a voiceover, something like an Eric Thomas type vibe where you're just, speaking life to people, and you sold that, right? You can mint one, you can mint 100, you can mint 10,000, you can mint any number you want. But once you sell out, the only ones you'll ever make are done. And then if somebody wants to sell it down the road, whenever it sells, there'll be a royalty that's taken from that. And you can set what that is. It can be 1%, it can be 10, it can be 20, and that will automatically get sent back to the wallet from the account you created it with. And then you could use a portion of those funds to donate to charity. You could use a portion of those funds to build some other endeavor that you have going forward. But in terms of what the NFT is in and of itself, literally there's no limitation on what the NFT is. But that's what an NFT is, that verifiable authenticity. That's why it's so valuable.
And why has that grown so fast?
I think it's grown quickly because of people like you and content. Because it's hard to stop somebody from ripping you off on the internet. You can literally have a thought. So when people go through experiences like that, it's like, okay, how can I, one, protect what I'm doing, but how can I also protect my community so that they know this is actually coming from me, this isn't coming from me. And so when people realized there was a way in which they could legitimately authenticate that at scale in a way that's verifiable on the blockchain, but then you can tie a royalty to the back end. That's when artists saw an opportunity to say, damn, you mean not only can I make sure that anything I sell is 100% legit, but also in perpetuity, I will get a check from this. So that, because I think we're just now kind of seeing us go through this next wave of a renaissance where people begin to value art again, right? And really place a premium on it. And we've seen that by people getting on YouTube, getting on TikTok, and now, they've created 6, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses from their thoughts, from a creative pursuit. And so people recognizing that, they're saying, okay, well, why don't I really get the maximum value out of my creativity, and not by necessarily charging people anymore, but just by having this programmatically built in to the lineage of this thing, this NFT. And that way people don't get charged more, but I'm always going to see a representation in real time of how the world is valuing my art. If people don't buy it, if nobody else sells it again, cool. But if it continues to sell and sell for more even, then that residual just comes back. So I think it's just the hybridization of that. We're in a bull market, so there's attention on it. And you've had, the right influencers jump on board. People like Gary Vee, people like Christie's Auction House. So I think it's just really kicked off this intrigue.
Okay. No, you seem super passionate about it. I'm gonna have to check it out. And I love the idea that you said how long-term this could be with the residual return. And you don't know where it can lead to. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that, because I haven't done any research, and that was a beautiful introduction to get me excited to want to actually learn about it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, man. Happy to help. Happy to help.
Zach, what completely unrelated to NFTs, 3 top maybe some broad strokes or even all the way down, 3 top tips for individuals that are on social that maybe they've gone 6 months, 9 months, 12 months consistently posting once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day. They're getting no traction. What do you recommend?
Insanity is doing the same thing. Finish the sentence. Finish it.
Same thing, expecting different results.
That's my guy. Yes. So quite oftentimes people on social media, they're putting out the quantity, they're being consistent, but they're not changing it. And my biggest piece of advice is, if I want to talk about anxiety, I need to do it in like 25 different ways. And I don't know what those ideas are. I could explain to you, but like try all these things. It's about just trying as many, I'm now beating a dead horse, as many ice cream scoops, finding the scoop that works, and then digging into that until there's no ice cream left in the carton, and then going to the next one. But like, I guess it's the micro pivoting of the idea, maybe replicating other creators that have done it, and not replicating, but like using them as like a template. That's the other thing. Anyone who creates content, you're never actually copying someone. We're all different human beings. So the way we actually create it is completely different. So don't worry about that. If you feel like you've copied, obviously give them a tag. Getting on trends. I never do any trends, so I can't really speak on that. That's a really good way to like pick up quick. But the issue with trends is people who follow you, if you go viral from trends, they follow you because of the trend, not because of the content you create. Therefore, you're not really creating a community. You're just creating this like fake fluff sometimes. But I guess trying out new things and always trying out new features and platforms. So Instagram, really the only way to grow on Instagram right now is Reels. Any new features, the algorithm is going to organically push. I'm sitting here in quarantine. I haven't been able to create content in like 3 weeks, but I've been posting old Instagram Reels off my grid and off my feed for the last 2 weeks. So you can like post a reel and it won't go to your feed or go to like your grid or your post. So none of your followers see it. It just goes to the explore page. And like, obviously a couple of them take off, and I've gained 15,000 followers over the past like week and a half on Instagram. And no one even knows because I'm not showing it to my feed. So I think, Reels, whether the Reels isn't the word, but like new features of new platforms, get on it early and always try a bunch of things until you find the thing that works. Don't think it's not for me, because anyone can grow on social media. Just be consistently willing to try new things.
Has Clubhouse done anything for you?
Bruh, RIP. That's the answer to your question. I've been on like, I don't know, 5-6 times, loved the idea. I think it's too time consuming, and I feel like people just want to talk about themselves from what the conversations I've been a part of. And it wasn't really me. I like video. I like creating videos or watching videos. So it just wasn't my space. It's a really cool place though to connect with some crazy creators or people in your field though. And that's the power of the internet, but like on a whole other game. What's you guys' thoughts on Clubhouse?
I've never been on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's only for iPhone. They're exclusionary to Android. So they said, Sae'Von, you can't come until you buy an iPhone. But we've used it once or twice for 8020. Just like, we don't have any followers on there. It's brand new. Like, didn't spend enough time on there. But we've used it to just play the podcast out live as we're going through thoughts. I've had a few people hop on, but I've thought there's no native record feature. There's no capability to repurpose that content. Seems like a lot of time for not a ton of return unless you're there in that exact moment.
That's the biggest thing. A lot of time for not a large return. That was the biggest thing for me. So, but to each their own. And if you've found value in it, kudos. And just not for me.
What's the monetary viability of being a creator and growing to somewhere like 2 million on TikTok? And I don't mean specific numbers. I'm just talking about abstractions here.
Yeah. Monetary, man. It's not so much the following you create. It's, I guess, we've said this multiple times now, the emotional connection you create and the potential revenue streams you create. So I think the follower count isn't really tell you how much money creators make. I know a lot of creators with a much smaller following who make much more than I do, just because they're hyper focusing on sales, or they're just good at it, or certain things that they focus on. So like anything, yeah, it's different for everyone. I'm trying to now, like, on this new path of being an entrepreneur and doing this as like a full-time career, dipping into all the ice cream. Here we go. All the ice cream things again to find the right, the right things. I'm going to shout out Baskin Robbins. If you're listening, shout out Baskin Robbins.
Give my boy a sponsorship.
Give me a sponsorship. I'll try all 31 scoops. But I think that's the thing is sort of like going in a neighborhood with like a bunch of nice mansions. You don't know who's in debt and who's not. Sort of like with a following, you don't know who's making money or who's just looking like they're making money. So it's just focus on yourself and keep going, but hopefully find people along the way that can help you, and that are true and real.
Do you find, and this is me just trying to throw a potential idea out there for you, have you found a lot of people in your space put together information to teach people stuff, like a specific skill set? Because I imagine the bulk of your audience is there for the mental health information that you provide, but I'd also imagine some people study you, right? They look at you as, okay, how can I reproduce his success in what it is I'm doing?
Yeah. In terms of like studying and reproducing, I don't know. I don't look at that. But I know a lot of creators in the space that I'm in that have made it a full-time career to educate people. Shout out one of my good friends from Sydney. He has an account called The Real Depression Project, and it has over, I think, 1.7 million followers. And he has courses on depression and anxiety, all online courses. And he's really smart at how he I guess markets it. His posts on Instagram, he's solely on Instagram, will get anywhere between like 30 to sometimes up to 200,000 likes. And it's like those carousel posts of like 8 or 9 photos. And it'll be like the 9 symptoms of anxiety you didn't know, or someone's suicidal and you would, I don't know, but like symptoms or signs or things to do or just actionable things. And then always on the last page would be like, link, I'm going to word it bad, but like, if you are someone that you struggle with depression, there's a link in the bio or whatever it is. And like the way he funnels people with the amount of likes, he's able to get a lot of, he gives free resources away, but also I think he would make I don't know, shout out Real Depression Project too, make a good chunk of change from selling courses that help people. So him and his brother are qualified in that space to create content, and they're making it for the masses. So that is a really cool way that they do it. And then there's other accounts, I think, that just do more basic generic, like posting of like the mental health stuff, not in a bad way, but I mean, like, just like they don't have courses. They just post like the content that you see. And there's
no back-end objective to the post necessarily.
Pardon?
So with the other folks, there's not necessarily a back-end objective to their post.
No, it's just solely posted for that. And that Real Depression Project is by far, I think, the biggest mental health creator on Instagram. And it just so happened that he lived 8 minutes away from where I did in Sydney, and I had no idea.
What are the odds?
Yeah. Small world.
So in a similar vein, how have you found that there's a good or an ideal kind of ratio to just pure, this is just for the community engagement posts, and then posts that are intended to promote something like merchandise?
Yeah, man. So like, especially with mental health, there's like a fine line with like thinking to like check out the new hookah that MDMotivator hookah 15 link in bio. Like you gotta be careful what you push.
Endorsements are big now.
Endorsements are big, but like I only want to get, like, moving forward, endorsements that help me get a job done. Like I want to work with these big box brands to sponsor my videos or whatever, to solely every dime goes into helping this person or whatever it is. So it markets Walmart or whatever, Target or whatever it is, of helping individuals. Because I'll tell you right now, social media, majority of people on social media are over helping charities and organizations. People want to help people, like individual level, or feel like they've helped them in some sense. So if we're in that, it's all about emotional connection, right? finding ways to, I guess, tap into the human psyche to get them empowered to want to make the change for other people. So I don't want to do promos and swipe up for my affiliate link. I'm trying to find ways to get brands on board with the mission to not change my life, but change others. And by doing that, it changes mine.
Solid answer. Solid answer.
Good. No ice cream there either.
No ice cream, but no bullshit either. I mean, it's sincere. You know, a lot of people find a platform, find a podcast, find a potential sponsorship for somewhere and say they're one thing and they do another. I think it's pretty clear by the way that you've already started to pivot on social and what you've communicated here and what you've communicated off camera too about your mission and where you're going. I mean, there's something to be said. You said, you know, awareness is cool. Awareness is great. That's maybe the first step. Acknowledgement that something exists is a great first step. But how do we take it further? You know, because I think that there's, as a creator, I mean, and you know this better than both of us do, you've been more consistent at a higher volume for longer. Like it's cool to get vanity metrics, but what does a change look like in the world? Like, is the world actually a better place because you're here, or are you taking up air that could be better used somewhere else?
Amen. And to put things in perspective, I don't know if you guys follow Mr. Beast. Shout out Mr. Beast. He's like one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. I was watching one of these interviews where he talked about his first brand deal on YouTube. He was offered by this app they were paying $5,000 to create a video. Most creators would take the $5,000 cash. They would probably pocket $4 and use $1 to make the video, $1,000 to whatever the video. And he says, we need to find a way to double that to make it 10,000 because the title is going to be much more powerful. And every penny I'm going to use to help someone who's homeless. So he ended up giving someone $10,000 cash to a homeless person and changed his life. The video went viral. The app got lots of downloads. That's not the story. But every video since then, he's always doubled and reinvested, never expecting or wanting a return. And he's built this fucking powerhouse. A lot of people want that short-term gratification or like get my $1,000 sponsor post or take this, take that. But how far ahead are you going to be in 6 months or a year's time? I quit medical school, right? So like at the end of the day, like when I'm going to be on the street in a few weeks and doing these videos, I'm going to be like, you could have been a fucking doctor. Don't bitch out. Like, this is like, you made this decision, go all in, right? So like, I'm not doing this for how far can I get in 2021? I want to see where I'll be in 2025. So yeah, that's kind of my thought and belief and passion on that.
Hey, if you ever need a fire under that ass, boy.
Let's go. Let's go, Sae'Von.
Man. James, you got anything else, bro?
No, man, I don't want to drag anything on. I definitely think we've been exhaustive in uncovering some motivations and kind of where you're going. I know I'm excited to see where you're going, having a little bit more information off camera to knowing what you're doing. I'm excited to see what you do, dude. I mean, this is a massive pivot. Being in medical school and pursuing being a practitioner in medicine and doing what you're doing, which is on the side, is completely different than saying bump that middle finger to regular life as I was going to see it, and we're just going to see what happens over here. Massive.
It's crazy when you say it like that, man. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, man. It's very inspiring. I can only imagine what it's like to be in your shoes and make that change. But, you know, like you said, insanity is doing the same thing, thinking we're going to get a different result. So I have no doubt that whatever it is you decide to push along for the next 5 years, next 10 years, what it looks like at 20, you're going to crush it. You're going to do great, man. And thank you for being so generous with your time. I know you had some context with James prior to this, and y'all graciously allowed some of my music to be on the back of some of your podcasts. But you've been super, super open with us, and it's really, really appreciated just your sincerity with us, because, you know, not everybody's a straight shooter. So thank you for that. Thank you for your honesty, man. And it's been beautiful.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, this was awesome. So
Also, Zach, I don't know. I think I mentioned this a while ago. Sae'Von's music, that first episode when I chopped up all the stuff with Julie Smith, that's his music.
Small world. Wow, I did not know that.
Yep.
I'll have to go back and listen to it. I forget the music, but I forget the episode. It's a long time ago.
That was the first episode. Dude, that was the first episode of You Matter Most podcast.
Oh, gee,
when it was still Mental Health Movement podcast before all the stuff.
Or the YMM podcast before the Real AK and all that. Go down that memory lane, bro. Yeah. Wow.
But his music was on the back end of all the YouTube videos for the cards at the end, and then also on the podcast on the intro. Those first couple episodes, man. So he's been with us at MHM for a while now.
Well, I'm gonna be downloading his Apple Music tonight, so hopefully it gets me through my run that I have planned after this.
Bro, Sovereign actually, he did a live performance. It's solid.
Oh shit! Okay, let's check it out.
No, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to plug my music right now. Before we head out, man.
I love that you can't take a compliment.
No, I appreciate it, but yeah, man. But so November 5th, we got the track releasing, and then anything else you just want to leave the folks with? Obviously, you're hitting them up other places, but any last thoughts you want to leave people with? Links we should throw in the bottom for you.
Yeah, just check out Instagram, MDMotivator. If you're following already, thank you so much. And some big things planned the rest of 2021. And don't forget that you matter most. Prioritize you. That's it.